Hi and welcome to another episode of ReaperTV. In this video I'm going to show you another way of dealing with color coding your tracks. This is something that's going to make life so much easier, and if you're the kind of person that, like me, you like to have everything color coded so you can quickly and easily see exactly what's going on, then this is definitely right up your street. So let's check out how we can do that now. Okay, so I've got a session open in front of me, and as you can see, everything is color coded. Now, depending upon the theme that you're using, you'll see color coding coming up in different ways. You'll see your media color coded, you'll see either your tracks color coded, your mixer panels color coded, and a whole different range of ways of displaying this. No matter what method or theme you use, you're still going to have some visual representation of the color coding that's used. So don't worry if your theme isn't the same as mine, you're still going to get that visual representation. So you need to also have the SWS extensions installed as part of Reaper. Now these are completely free, links in the description below, and we've covered these in the past. It's something that really does expand and enhance Reaper, completely free like I say. It's worth installing, it's a very quick download, and adds a ton of functionality to Reaper. So with that installed, we need to go into the extensions menu, and what I'm going to look at is the Autocolor icon layout option. So we click on that, that'll bring a dialog box up. And in that dialog box, you can see I've already defined a couple of different things. We've got different track coloration and we've got region colors. So with this option, we can define tracks, regions, and also markers. And by doing that, we can easily and quickly apply that color coding depending upon what we create. So if we create a region, we can set that up once we name it to pick up a styling based upon this Autocolor icon layout option. So let me explain that and show you in a bit more detail. You can see I've got a couple of tracks laid out and I've got a couple of regions laid out. Now I generally go through and set up my tracks to be a certain color for guitars, for bass, for drums and so on. And if you've seen the previous video I did, I showed you a way of doing this, but this is a much quicker and easier way. So what we do is we specify a filter, and that filter effectively triggers this particular layout or color option. So in other words, if I type in guitar to any of my tracks, it'll automatically pick up the guitar color. So let me just demonstrate that. Let me put that out of the way. Let me just come down and create a new track. Let's just get rid of this one. So we're going to create a new track, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this guitar. Once I press enter, you can see that now picks up the blue color, and if I start creating audio, that'll be blue as well. If I change the name of that to vocals, you'll see it now changes to yellow. Now this is a great way of doing things because I don't have to remember what color options I want to use, and I don't have to apply any color options. The same goes with the region. So if I just come to this and I just select an area that's going to be my verse or my chorus, for example, I come in and I say I want to insert a region. So we'll click to create a region. You can see that automatically creates that region for us. We don't have a name or color applied to this yet. So all I need to do is right click and say edit region, and I'm going to call this chorus. And once I click OK, you'll see that now changes the color to be green. Now if I create a second section, so we'll just highlight this, right click and say create region, and we'll name this one something different. So we'll come up and we'll name this one verse. And once I click OK, you'll see that'll pick up the verse color, which in this instance is blue. So you can see I don't need to do anything other than create those regions, create markers, create tracks, name them accordingly, and it'll automatically pick up the styling and options we applied to it based upon the Autocolor icon layout. So let's take a look at how we can set a new one of those up and how we can influence the way that we work. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a rule. So all we need to do is click the Add Rule button. Click on that. You can see that now inserts a blank rule. So we've got track is by default the option selected. We have no name applied to it and no color or icon or anything else. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down to that. I can right click where it says track, and you can see I can adjust the track, the marker or the region. So for this example, let's go in and put a marker in there. So we'll click marker. And what we're going to do is we're going to give this a name. This is the trigger that's going to apply the color that we apply to it, the associate with it. So we'll just call this one test. And we'll set a color. So we just click, right click and say set color. And you can see that brings up the color picker. We can now choose any color that we want to assign to that particular filter. So let's just choose this green and we'll click OK. So we've now applied that. So we can drag that over. Now all I'm going to do is going to come up, insert a marker. So I'm going to insert that anywhere I want and say insert marker. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this test and click OK. And you can see that now inserts the marker. And once it's done that, because we've applied test to it, you can see it now picks up the green color. So we've automatically applied that, which is great. Like I say, if you work with markers or you work with regions or tracks, it's a great, quick and easy way of working. So let's just bring this over and do the same again. So we'll add a rule. Track is fine. And we'll call this one backing vocals. I'm going to assign a color to this. So set a custom color and we'll just say that's going to be this disgusting olive color. So we'll click OK. And we're done on that. So we'll click force just to make sure everything is updated on there. And it's something I want to show you because we've applied this. Now we've got vocals and backing vocals. So there's a level of hierarchy that's used inside this autocolor icon layout option. So let's just move that out of the way. Create a new track. And now if we come onto this and we say vocals, you can see it applies yellow. However, if I put backing vocals, it still stays yellow. Now the reason for that is because we've got the trigger of vocals. Even though we've got backing vocals, it still uses that word to trigger the color. Now this is where the moving things up and down comes into handy. You can see we've got up in priority or down in priority. So now if we lift that up above the original vocal, this is not the quickest thing in the world, so we say force that. Now because that is above the vocal, you can see that now picks up the color we've assigned to it, which is the sort of olive color. And if we scroll up to anything else, if we had any other vocal tracks on here, we see that they would now have changed color. And again, if I select that and say down in priority, because that now sits underneath vocals or vocal, it goes back to being yellow. So you need to be careful when you're doing this that you set the priority if you use duplicate names. So, like I say, it's something to be aware of, and this is where, if you're clever with this, and we'll just force that and click close it down, it's quite useful. So, because we've assigned guitar, I don't need to just limit myself to using the term guitar. So let's just say, for example, this is now my lead guitar. I can say lead guitar. Even though we don't have that specific trigger or filter applied to it, it'll still style it blue because the term guitar is in there. And the same if I go and assign that to lead guitars, it still picks that up. So it's worth being aware, or worth bearing in mind, that when you name your filters, you add those filters to this particular function, that you're careful with what you do, because you can quite easily get yourself into problems if you start naming things and they kind of overlap. So just bear that in mind. However, they don't have the same relationship if you've got a region set up to be guitar, for example, and you also have a track marker set up for guitar, different colors. They will differentiate between the two different kinds of items that are applying that, and the filter applies to those particular items only. Hope that kind of makes sense. Now we're not limited to only using colors when it comes to the tracks. We can use icons as well. So let's just take a look at doing that. If we bring this over, you can see we get the option in this particular column for icons. Let's just go and put a bass guitar icon in there. So if we click on that and right click and say load icon, you can see we can now assign any of the icons that we've got either installed as part of Reaper, or if you've got your own icon set, just locate that on your drive and you can use any of the icons inside there. So let's just say we're going to use this bass guitar. Click on that and click on open. What we need to do now is click on force. So we'll force that to update the screen and use that icon. So if we click on force, you see that now expands the track out and shows us the icon for the bass guitar. Do the same for drums. If we right click, load icon, find a nice drum set on there, and we'll say this one will do fine. Click OK. Now click on force. You can see we now have the icon for the drums. So again, really quick and easy, and if we change anything on there, it'll automatically update it. So if we don't like that bass guitar, for example, we can load a different bass guitar in. Let's just say we'll go for this one and click on open, hit force, and you can see that now updated to show us for the new updated icon. Really, really simple. Well, there we go. That pretty much wraps up what I wanted to show you in this video. It really is a really cool way of working with color coding and adding icons to Reaper without having to go to the effort of manually creating these every single time. Set up your rules for your tracks, your regions, your markers, and so on, and then you can automatically apply that just by typing in the name that associates with the particular instrument or the marker or the region that you're working with. Anyway, I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and smash that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all the new content we add every single week. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback on this video, or anything else we cover on the channel, please pop those in the comment section below. And as always, happy mixing.